Today we have an extra special guest, Jade Karling Black. Now, Jade and I met on the Grief Dreams podcast. Absolutely suggest and recommend that you check it out. We will post all of the links after this one in the comment section. Jade is also an author. Quiet Mind, Open Heart. I could not put this down, Jade. It was fantastic. Just getting to know you before getting to know you. And then Jade is also the co-author of Journaling Through Pregnancy. Now, Jade, what else have you been up to?
Well, I've been working from home since the COVID-19 kind of erupted, so I'm just juggling motherhood right now and a new schedule, new way of doing things. Usually I'm out in community a lot or in my office, and so yeah, just been kind of juggling, a new schedule and figuring out how to get things done for my home office. I like routine and structure, so it's been a little bit of a challenge to figure out, like, how to be productive and at the same time be gentle with myself, because so many changes in the way we're doing things here in BC, and it just kind of happened like overnight. It was like one day everything was normal, and the next day it's like, okay, we're going to dismantle this, and we have a new way of living. So really, as like a self-employed like working in the entrepreneurial kind of industry, it's been tricky on how to make it work, but been busy writing, been busy doing my research, still working on a few projects, although I've had to like I mentioned, shape shift how I'm doing it and how I'm connecting with the people I work with. So it's been a learning curve, but keeping busy nonetheless.
That's wonderful. And in terms of writing, are you still writing the blog? Are you still for the Fraser Valley? That's still writing, or is it your own writing?
So now I'm actually working on a fourth book right now, a fictional book. It's my first kind of kick at the fictional world. Although I must say that kind of writing to me still feels nonfiction, because obviously that those ideas are coming from somewhere, my real life and my real experience. So I've been experimenting with that, so that's all I'll say about that piece. And then yeah, just like freelance blogging for different different publications and stuff, kind of here and there, picking it up in between. So yeah, some lifestyle stuff, some wellness stuff, and then some grief work as well.
Right, right. And I don't know, you're probably, because you're in the realm of the grief doing the podcast, was it the Financial Post? And I think a Harvard Business Review also said that where we are now is a global loss and grief. We've lost all of what we've had previously. Now we're moving towards a new normal, but it's almost like the stages of grief that you can go through either every day or every week. We're not there yet. We're not at the assimilation acceptance part, but definitely, could you relate to that? Do you think that's something, that you see?
100%, 100%. Yeah, like everything, I work with lots of at-risk populations, vulnerable populations in my community, like research endeavors, and I had lots of conversations about them. And I think um like when people think of grief, they think automatically of death and dying, and people's definition of grief doesn't always expand to like encompass um even people that go through a divorce. They're like, that's not grief. And it's like, yeah, that is grief. Like we're constantly in a state of change and losing relationship, losing identity, losing, like, even if we move, or you know what I mean, any kind of substantial life change, there's a period of grief and grieving. So I think when you have conversations with people, they open up to the idea that we can grieve our old routine. Like Um, so yeah, I think people are being more considerate of all the ways that we are grieving the loss of our routine and seeing our coworkers and having supports. I mean, I know lots of people that are in a recovery or go to some kind of therapeutic support group, and they're really struggling with not being able to have that connection. And we've had conversations about me explaining that's a loss, that's a major loss, very impactful. And then grieving the loss of my own really close relationship with my coworkers, my relationship with my gym, and other things that I'm used to engaging in so that I feel balanced. It's challenging, and the impact is so huge that um it's mind blowing to actually think about how far the impact has reached in people's lives. Like, it's not just about um disease and the threat of contracting a virus.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think you brought up a good point to say that, we go through these losses, and maybe to expand on that too, things that we used to think was normal, like baby showers or birthday parties, or even just the office party or donuts on Friday or the gym or anything like that. Now, in the communities that you work with, you're mentioning you have a lot of support systems and the support groups. Now, are they doing that virtually? Is that something that is helpful? And how does that really differ from an in-person support group versus an online one?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll just say people are incredibly resilient, and like I'm amazed in how fast people like, okay, now we have to shift to something else, and it's like, so that's incredible. Like, people are really quick thinkers, and it's like, how can I shift my practice to online? Or like, and lots of people that I work with in like the wellness community and the social service community, um it's just amazing. Like, download this app, this is what we're going to do now, we're going to make an online course, and it's been like 2 weeks, and I'm like, whoa, you guys are like on it. So that amazes me, because that means it was possible before. Like, there's things we weren't considering, or we're considering those to be barriers, but they weren't really barriers. So that's enlightening. Like, okay, how can I utilize this kind of shift is possible, and where else can I do it, even if we do go back to normal? How can I reach more people on more platforms? And I think people get used to meeting in certain ways, or um, seeing each other, engaging with one another in certain ways. Even though we're a very technologically advanced society, like, people still like to congregate in groups. And I don't want to give the impression that um, having a Zoom meeting with somebody or something like that is a replacement for physical human connection, because it's not. Like, it can only serve us so much. But in times when we have to adapt, like, it's still efficient. Like, it's gonna have to suffice, and so it is sufficing. But yeah, I'm amazed at the resilience of people to bounce back, think outside the box, and meet people where they're at. And so a lot of that's been through social media, like, doing what we're doing now, and Zoom and house party app, and people even who are like, oh, I'm out of the loop, I can't, older people that I work with who aren't that tech savvy, and they're like, download house party and meet me there. And so it's forcing them to kind of shift out of their idea of what's possible in communication. So that's great. Love that.
Right, right. And I think you brought up a really an excellent point as well. Just thinking birthing plans, right? I would love to see the numbers of how many women had a birthing plan and then something happened. Like for me, case in point, right? Both of
Yes.
them. It
Yes.
was not planned this way at all. So, in terms of that resiliency, in terms of thinking outside the box, now, if we can bring it to the pregnancy realm, what suggestions would you have for people who maybe feel like they are isolated, that things aren't going the way they want it to, considering that have all these physical things that they have to deal with as well. Maybe you're a new mom and you have a toddler that cannot go outside. You can no longer take them to the park. You have all these things that you need to deal with, or you're a first time mom, or you're a single mom. I realize that's a lot of different personas, but if you can perhaps make an expose for us on what possible things that they can do if they do not have the support systems that they maybe had before the time, or
Mhm.
maybe they didn't have it at all in the first place.
Right. Like I'll just say I feel for any mother that's going through that now because I mean, pregnancy and preparing for labor and birth, like it presents its own challenges. To be going through this right now can be, I can imagine, tremendously scary. Like if I was about to give birth now, I would feel anxious. I would feel anxious and I would feel like nothing could prepare you for this experience right now. So shout out to all those moms who are preparing to birth and have to grieve the plan, because even if you had a plan, which I had a birth plan too, and it did not go according to what I thought it was going to. So that was a big lesson in surrender and letting go and all those things. Really valuable lessons, for me to experience. But um I would just say, obviously the health of you and your baby is priority at this point. And um, if you can't see your midwife or you can't see your doctor in the same way or as frequently, um, for those moms who do have supports in place, feel free to ask for help and lean on that, more than you normally would. Like I know mothers who are pregnant right now, and it's just lots of FaceTime calls to mom and sister and best friend, and just really, relying on that and being encouraged to pull out that inner strength and saying, okay, fair, I don't know exactly what this looks like, and I don't know what this birthing experience is going to be, but I know the people too that are supporting me and serving me at this time, which is the frontline workers, do have my well-being in mind. And I think if you've kind of kept up a relationship with your doctor or your midwife, whatever that looks like, it is my hope that uh, they make it a priority to adapt to mom's needs and stuff. I mean, it's really hard to navigate. It's hard without that social connection and having to follow all the social distancing guidelines. And I would also say, like, use the opportunity to grieve not being able to have a baby shower or not being able to connect with other moms in a mom support group. Like, to just have that abruptly stop is hard. So journaling, of course, through it and some of those emotions and stuff that are coming up, and like get creative, when things settle down, and they will, get creative with how you might want to plan or um revisit that at a later date when it's more safe. I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with having a baby shower after. There's nothing wrong with doing things that have been postponed to do it after, but I would definitely say hold space for grieving the things that you thought were going to happen that might not be able to happen. And that's anger and that's sadness, and some of those moments, I mean, for some moms, if they're on their last baby or it's their intention to have one and be done, I mean, they may not ever have that opportunity again, and that sucks.
It's true. It's true. And it's a valid point to say, be in the emotion that you are right now, deal with it. Don't, sort of just say, oh, it's maybe just hormonal, or, actually deal with the grief. Like you correctly said, it's a grieving of what was normal, and perhaps even a grieving of what you expected, what society had planned. And I think this isolation is so abrupt. Nobody had time to plan. It was all of a sudden the whole world just came to a standstill. So you didn't really have time to process it. And that's something that I have found too, that people sometimes postpone their grief in order to just be out of the survival mode. So important to also find perhaps where you are at in your journey. Are you in the beginning? Because you might not have the same grief pattern as the next mom was the next mom. And then you could very easily fall into that comparison trap to say, well, she's already planning like this other thing and she's doing all these parties and whatever. Why am I not feeling like that? Right? It
Right.
could be so many different things to also be cognizant and, like you said, be mindful, be journaling through it, understand where you're at. And it's also not a competition. You must be aware too, like especially on social media where everybody's now be productive, do this, go that way. You have so much time, you have so much energy. And then they forget that there's this mental component to say, yeah, but we're also going through so many things. You can't be expected to be on the same productivity level as we were even 3 months ago.
No way. No way. And yeah, I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday and saying, and like I get that culture of like use the time, silver lining, hustle, hustle, but it's like this isn't an opportunity to overachieve. This is, I mean, for some people it is, and that's how they cope. And they're gonna write like crazy and they're gonna plan the next 5 years of their life and take 9 courses online. Like I'm all for that too. Great if that's how you feel. But some of us that have been thrown into like the teacher role, like we're doing everything, and like working moms in particular that I know have now been like thrusted into, now I'm teacher and I'm working from home and I'm doing this, like just surviving and washing my hair. Like that's the win right now, not writing a New York Times bestseller. Like it's, the expectations can't be that high. Like lots of us are just surviving. And
Right. And I love that. It's sorry.
today I'm winning. So um I think yeah, just that culture of overachieving, and then for people who aren't prepared and really rely on that balance to feel grounded within themselves, um can feel judged if they feel like they're not going above and beyond right now.
And judgment and also guilt, right? Feeling that perceived pressure that I should be doing something different or else. And even from personal experience, I remember when I had my little one, the first thing that a person told me was, oh, what do you mean you didn't read like this and this and this and this and you didn't take this and this and this and this? And I was like, then I got so frantic about this little baby, and I thought I was just sort of gonna follow my intuition. Sure, I read some articles, and I'm not completely in the dark here, but I didn't all of a sudden have a PhD in new mom, newborn status. And I feel like a lot of that pressure that when you are a new mom, for when you eventually have your baby, is sort of now as well, like put on us to be this super mom, use this time to get the fit, as fit as you can be. You have to be healthy, of course, like you said in the beginning, for yourself and for your baby, but
Right.
balance. Right?
Very much so. Yeah. And so like journal, using the journal as a tool to even expand on things, because we did not include a pandemic section in the book. So like, who could have prepared for this? But I think the emotional regulation, nobody came into New Year's Day saying this is where we're going to be, right? It's it's difficult that way. But yeah, so I would encourage anybody who's working through the journal to allow themselves to ad lib and add some sections and expand on some sections that they can kind of dovetail into, um, being as prepared as you can be, and what preparedness, emotional preparedness, um, and to how to prepare for a pivot. Because as much as there's a pandemic and it's requiring us to pivot, there are also other situations while you're going through a pregnancy that can cause you to take an extreme pivot. If your partner passes away or gets an illness, or you struggle with a newfound illness, or like there's so many variables that unexpected things, like life is just like that. So
Absolutely. And I think also, like you said, even throughout pregnancy, just the pivot, change, the base laid plans. I mean, the baby's going to come when the baby's going to come, and things are just going to be the way they are. And for the journal is fantastic, like you mentioned, to go through it, make sure you're emotionally okay. I think an important part is to like the physical okayness, like in your surroundings, in your area, like how are your finances? Because how many people are job insecure at this point, right? Like make sure that you have, I think there's going to be a worldly pivot as well to become more sustainable. And from what we've seen now is people are not as consumerist oriented now because they realize how little they actually need to survive and what is really important and what is really a priority in their lives. So
Very much so. That's been a strong reflection for even myself. Like I've gone through the whole um I'm surviving on much less. Like it's been enlightenment. I'm a pretty simplistic person. Like I'm I like the basics. I have the basics. I have like a few luxuries in there and but it's sustainable long-term, things. Um but I've had lots I've been journaling lots about um those kind of things coming up for me. Like what do I actually need? And I'm realizing that it's lower. I mean, I can do better. I can do better in that department more. So that's been a gift, for me.
absolutely. And I think even for new moms, I mean, it's not like we can go out now and consign or do anything, but that's not going to last forever either. But
Right.
what does a baby really need? His mom or her mom, right? Like just bringing it back to that core needs for the mom too, that you don't feel like, you have to keep up with the Joneses because you can't even see the Joneses at this point, to be honest. you know?
Unless you're on social media, which that can be, that's
Right, right.
people lots of stuff there, and that's where the comparison kind of thing comes in. But I will also say for moms that are preparing to give birth, mothers that are preparing to give birth, don't be shy to limit your social media time now, because if you're already feeling anxious about A, B, and C, sometimes social media can heighten that. So don't be afraid to, especially if there's people in other parts of the world that are experiencing the pandemic in a very different way. I've heard from lots of moms that it kind of that comparison kind of muscle gets strengthened through spending too much time on social media. So I would encourage lots of balance there as well for anybody, but for moms in particular, because you want to do what you can to kind of keep yourself, feeling grounded.
Absolutely. And it's a very good point that there's like different people, not even just in different circumstances, financially or pregnancy wise or relationship wise, support wise. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And all you see on social media is one little picture. That doesn't tell the whole story. I mean, that's been said how many times before. And I think even for you and I, like BC is handling it way different than Ontario is handling it. Even my city is handling it differently than the city next door. So it's such a microcosm now of how people are really dealing with this. Right?
Very much so. But yeah, like I mean, it's a great time to write down, work through that budgeting portion in the journal and figure out what do I actually need moving forward, especially if you're to the point where you haven't purchased so many things. This might be, no pressure, but a good opportunity to really sit down and think, especially when a lot of those insights about what do I really need are fresh in your mind. Because if you're realizing for yourself, I could cut that out, I could cut that out, then that might kind of easily dovetail over to baby, especially if those things are kind of fresh in your mind. Okay, what does baby need? I could probably cut that out, that out, and that out. So just simplify everything. And I think a lot of us have been spending time cleaning and organizing. I know I've cleaned and organized. My house is spotless right now, for the most part, because I've been had the extra time to kind of work through, and that's part of my coping strategy. But I think just really um, organizing your mind around what you actually need when it comes to finances and things that could be put off.
Right, right. And while you were mentioning, like writing everything down in the journal, the love letter to your baby one that is right at the end. Can you imagine if you are a 10-year-old kid, or if you are, older and you read what your mom wrote to you but in this virus situation? And I think it would just bring you so much closer and sort of really enlighten also the mom who is writing it, because that's the aim of journaling, is for you to be okay, right, as the journal. But even to go further, to say, these are the things that we didn't buy because we realized that you are the most important part of this equation of what we want. And the world changed so fast that I, you know, had these insights, and this is how I feel now that I probably wouldn't have felt if things were normal.
Very much. Beautiful. Yeah, what a memory to look back on for a child, like you know and to I like, if my mom wrote that letter to me and I had the chance to go back and read it, like I was like, Mom, you're a warrior. Like the strength that that takes in this moment, like I can't even imagine being pregnant right now and going through all that. I've been thinking lots about it, obviously, because I'm, the book and the journal, and what would that be like for me, and just, talking to my friends who are carrying now and nearing quickly, um and some of the challenges and the way that they're handling it, and I just, even to think about a child reading a letter, the amount of respect and honor and bonding that that would have for a child and a mother to say, this is what I went through, and to have, a physical piece of that, it it's beautiful, and it's scary, and it's sad, and it's all those things together.
Absolutely. And I think in the end, it's also healing. It's like when we look at anything that was written in terms when things were crazy, when things were traumatic, wars, famine, virus outbreaks, disease, everything. The written word is the one that inspires people for the future generations. It brings that piece of history with you in a very inspiring, empowering way, right? Like you said.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, is there any tips, any advice? I know we talked a lot about, the specific ones. Any final things that you can, maybe, if the mom is in the first trimester versus the last trimester, I think there's going to be some anxious things going on there as well. Just how to bring it down, how to ground.
Yeah, I mean, every stage of pregnancy is going to bring up different challenges, because just even outside of a pandemic, there's different situations. If you're newly pregnant, this is an opportunity to reflect, like we were talking about, on what you need, and also, um, to stay away from the overachieving piece, but at the same time, like, we've been given an opportunity to learn lots about ourselves and how we are going to relate to our child. And um it's not always easy, but to allow yourself to explore a silver lining and to pull some purpose from what it is we're going through. And I don't it's if you have older kids, if you just want to encourage yourself to, um like, moment to moment, like, to be evoke more mindfulness within yourself, because moments are so fleeting. And so, rather than, being in constant, maybe, worry about, oh, maybe this wasn't the right time to get pregnant, or maybe I should have waited, or I can't believe I'm in this situation, because I imagine a lot of women are having that thought, right?
Right.
um there's so many situations when it comes to pregnancy and how you ended up pregnant. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many stories. And so I imagine there's varied situations out there. Like, it's astronomical, the the variations in stories that pregnant women are experiencing, like in this moment. I think as a general suggestion, and it's easier said than done, of course, but being in the moment and talking to your child, and you know, I mean, I did this a lot when I was pregnant. I was always talking to River, and like at first it felt strange, but I think the more and more that we bonded, and I would tell her what I was going through, and part of me said, "You're crazy. She's too young. She can't comprehend." But for me, it was very therapeutic because, you know, I was just sharing everything with her. And so when you know, I birthed her, it's like looking at her, and it's like, you know, in my mind, she's looking at me saying, "I heard with her eyes. I heard your stories. I
Right.
know everything you told me. It it increased our connection."
I
So I
love
would encourage
that.
moms to talk to their children, to journal through anything and everything, and don't judge what you're feeling. If you're angry, allow yourself to be that, or to cry. Like, we don't have to be perfect, I guess, is a summation of that. And there is no roadmap for navigating our emotional state in pregnancy, and there's certainly no roadmap map for navigating our emotional state in pregnancy through a pandemic. Like, it's a completely different ball game. So gentle, gentle, gentle is the mantra.
I love that. I love that. Yes, and mantras are so important. Write them down, look at them, keep them
Yeah,
everywhere to keep reminding yourself. And I love that idea of connection too, because now we are forced to sort of just be connecting to whoever's in our household. And there is that lack of outside connection. So if we can connect with ourselves and find that inner strength. And I was thinking about this the other day too. Birthing is really just the mom, right? That inner strength comes from you. The baby has to leave your body. You have support, and that is helping, but you are still the person that needs to, deliver this little soul and this little body into the world. So the more you can have your own strength and your own sort of self-care at this point, and that's what the journal said too. Jennifer, who did the forward, is the moms who have greater self-care before the baby is there do much better after. So it is so important. Doesn't matter where you are in your pregnancy, you have it carries through.
yeah. And I think with all these social distancing practices, uh, a child in the womb, like there's no protocols for social distancing there. Like you said, that's the one, you know, physical relationship. Like, you're together, and that's, you know, you don't have to stay 6 meters away or whatever it is. Like, so embrace that, and, you know, leverage on that, and put energy into more energy, and attention into that, because that's going to build your relationship for the future, and it's also going to give the mother purpose. And, you know, that could be, you know, the deciding factor between just feeling more anxious and feeling more grounded and connected, which is what we all need right now.
Absolutely. Jade, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. Now,
Thanks.
they can get the journal on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Chapters.
Yes.
And I think your last post said there was only one left, but there
There's
will
only
be more.
yes.
It's an essential service, I think.
That's
This is an essential service. It has to be open and it has to go.
absolutely, and it's a perfect time. It's a perfect time to. I mean, it's always a perfect time to journal. I'm just a big believer in the therapeutic benefits of journaling. I've seen it in my own life. I've been journaling forever. It's done me so well. It's a companion of mine. It's a best friend. So I don't. I want to continue to raise awareness on an extremely it's a cost effective tool too, and an heirloom, and something you can keep and reflect back on. I love reading my journals back because you can just see how far, we've come, all of us, in all kinds of different ways. So yeah, I encourage you, and you can send it to a mom that's preparing to give birth. Perhaps you miss a shower, you can send her the book instead. And great.
That is a great idea. Yes, they ship worldwide. That's amazing. Well, Jade, thank you so much for taking the time. Please stay safe. Lots of
Yeah,
hugs to River, and we will chat again real soon.
sounds great. Thank you so much, Christine.
Journaling Through Pregnancy is available on Amazon, Chapters Indigo, and Barnes and Noble. For more information on our guided journals, please visit journalingthrough.life. Keep journaling and keep growing.